Hey there, Shrine Runners! Hello, and welcome to the Fox Shrine. I'm Araxis, your host, and tonight we're going to be playing some more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. How's everyone's day been? Mine's been alright. I had a fairly sort of relaxing day. I wouldn't say I did too much sort of farming in FGO or anything like that. What I was really sort of doing was more sort of Library of Ruiner. I was supposed to do some farming for that, and I did do a little bit, but I ended up sort of trying to practice for the Queen of Hatred fight. That was certainly something, at least. I think it's possible we might be able to do it. I might have to hold off a little bit longer until I get some more powerful single cost cards, but we'll see. I probably should have done some of those free fights, because they might have some good cards for me to get, but I didn't. I didn't. Well. Anyway, we should probably get into the Great Ace Attorney, shouldn't we? Alright, let's move over, shall we? Okay then. Now, as always, do let me know if there are any issues. There shouldn't be, but you never know. And let's get things underway, shall we? We were in the middle of the trial where last week left off, and the jury turned against us again, if I remember right. I have considered the defense's counsel's request for a further summation examination of the jury. And I have determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to this procedure. So, counsel, you will now proceed with your second summation examination. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman? We are, my lord. Struth, cracky. Bob's your uncle. Very good. In that case, I must ask each of you now to state clearly and concisely for the court the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of this crime. Again, I feel like the jury is not impartial. Let's proceed with this, I guess. Oh, the accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? There's 3 books of his. If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime if the window was closed, can it? Dearie me, it was only a little book. Hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit. Look, I just want to get this over with. I don't bring home some paste tonight, I'll be in a tidy bit of trouble. Come to think of it, had a fire at home a while ago. Gave me the sneezes. I don't think you two kind of explained your reasoning there at all. Stop trying to get out of the court case. You're on the jury. Gotta do this. Yes, considerably more tangible arguments from all members of the jury this time around, it seems. Not quite, with one notable exception, of course. My learned student friend was unable to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So, the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. And, moreover... Oh, there it goes. No one else was even at the scene to commit the crime. Well, if the eyewitnesses are correct, it would seem as if the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. I fail to see how it can be argued any other way. That means, I'm afraid, that during this summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts. But how? What would even constitute a tangible explanation here? Isn't it obvious? Who stabbed the woman and how? Those two details. Two details! Are all you need to provide. Simply give us a name and a method by which the attack was conducted. And there I was thinking this might be hard. But Mr. Naruhodo, we have to do it. Otherwise this really will be where the trial ends. No pressure then. That's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. I presume you are prepared, Consul? Oh, yes, my lord. Alright, Ryunosuke. Focus your mind now. Just, gotta wake myself up here. Clearly, the key to this summation examination is going to be juror number 4, the maid. Or should I say, Mrs. Garadeb? We have a book that disappeared from the Garadeb's house on the evening of the incident, and the 4th book found in the victim's hand. There must be a way to link the two. Yes, that's what we have to find. Using every technique I've learnt in my short career so far. Whatever it takes. Don't forget to keep an eye on Mrs. Garadeb and how she reacts. Even to the things other people say. Alright. Let's go for our rebuttal, shall we? Alright. Now, to go over what we were... some key banners. The 4th book, The Lion's Pride. Hey Ada, welcome. Now, The Lion's Pride is important because this was John Garadeb's book. But how did it get there? We want to sort of try and see if we can explain that somehow. Alright, so let's go quiz the jurors in a little bit more detail and see what they've got to say, okay? Okay, accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his. That's certainly something to note. Hold it! But as we now know, there were 4 books, not 3. Well, what difference does it make? There's every possibility that the 4th book, in fact, belongs to the defendant's landlord. Yeah, that's the part I have a problem with. Sorry? Well, at the point the woman was stabbed, the landlord fella was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fiery scrap with his wife or something, you said? That's not exactly how I put it, no. But there was fire involved, absolutely. Well, anyway, the point is, the fellow and his wife were somewhere else when it happened. I think that's what you call a strong alibi. Oh, it couldn't have been the landlord who did it. Which only leaves the Nipponese fellow. Honestly, I can't see what all this palaver's about. Done deal, isn't it? I suppose it is, since I've got nothing witty left to say. Alright. That how the victim was stabbed, you might reconsider. Alright, well let's see what you've got to say when we quiz you further. So, You might be willing to change your decision, you mean? Oh my, such delight on your face. But I'm afraid I shan't be swayed by emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I am a very modern, metropolitan, and rational woman. That's great. Can you do something about the racism, though? If one reads the morning papers, I'll forgot my tea time, isn't it? So why read them in the first place? You see? Modern, metropolitan, rational thinking, wouldn't you say? And not at all extreme. Well, I suppose that means you're probably not watching Fox, at least, right? Or reading whatever sort of... like the New York Post. At least you're not reading the New York Post or whatever sort of British rag is out there. What was it? The Times? The Herald? The Sun? One of them was horrible and owned by Murdoch. Don't read that one. Yeah, the Sun. Must be the Sun. As I see it, an overwhelmingly suspicious Japanese man has been implicated by overwhelmingly strong testimony. So, despite one or two minor puzzlements, I do declare that the man is overwhelmingly guilty. Modern, metropolitan, and rational logic, wouldn't you say? Overwhelmingly. For us modern gals are always delighted to embrace new fads, you know. So I'd be only too happy to consider an exciting new theory if you could come up with one. I'd be happy to do that too, if only I could. But let's do our very best not to disappoint the modern and metropolitan young lady. Right. I'm glad you admitted the rational there. Nice. Okay, even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime if the window was closed. Unless it smashed through the window? The window wasn't damaged, was it? What about the possibility that the window was open? What about it? I mean, there's just no way it could have been. How could you be so sure? The prosecutor fellow over there said it earlier, didn't he? Winters in London are no joke. You don't want to invite that sort of cold indoors. So, no, the window wasn't open. Us Londoners like sitting by the fire and staying warm, see? But you couldn't categorically state that the window wasn't open, could you? It just wasn't. They wouldn't have opened it. Then what's the point of even having windows, huh? Counsel, you will kindly refrain from childish bickering. Sorry. Objection, badgering the witness, or the juror in this case. This is weird. Somehow I need to show that there's an undeniable possibility that the window was open. I mean, the place was on fire, right? So you'd want to let the smoke out. This young man isn't going to budge otherwise. Yep, hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit. Alright. Might need you to elaborate on that statement, ma'am. But the little book was on fire at the time, was it not? With flames of love, I'll have you know. There's really no such thing as a loving incendiary bomb. Well, he brought it upon himself. It's playing with fire to betray a fiery love. Isn't it? Well, don't you agree? Any kind of betrayal is certainly a bad thing, yes. But I think the argument might have arisen out of your misunderstanding, Mrs. Garadeb. Never you mind that. The point is, we were just having a jovial little dispute, nothing more. And I won't have any more of these suggestions that it was anything whatsoever to do with this crime. Right. Well, I'll see about that. What about poor old juror number 5? He doesn't seem to be turning a hair at Mrs. Garadeb's relentless onslaughts. It's almost as though he's used to it. Oh, what a gentle soul he is. He just wants to get this over with, bring home pay, because he'll be in trouble, I'm guessing, with his wife? Hold it! You just want to get this over with? How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here. William and me both then, like I said before. What? I told you already, I'm a day laborer, aren't I? I don't bring home some ruddies with me tonight. You'll find me floating face down in the Thames tomorrow morning. What? You heard me. Our missus didn't want to mess about, you know. She can be fierce, believe you me. Another shining example of marital bliss, then. Situation like this cropped up the other day. Was, well, you know, it's funny, but I don't quite remember. Sorry? It was, too frightening, that's the thing. I must have, blocked it out. Helpful. Have you considered getting a divorce if your wife is abusing you? I wonder if Mr. Beat will ever be dragged into the Thames by his scarf. Oh, don't even go there, Miss Susato. Must be some way to jog his memory about this. We had a fire at home a while ago, gave me the sneezes. Oh, that was I meant to press him. Okay, we need to demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Natsume, could have attacked the young woman on the streets, as well as how he or she could have done it. Yes, but once again, the jurors' statements are full of personal prejudice. A lot of them seem convinced they're right, even in the face of logical arguments to the contrary. I think I'm going to need to pit them against each other to force them to accept an alternative explanation. Yes. Don't necessarily need to find contradictions between their assertions. Just a connection might do the trick. Alright, I'll see what I can do. If anything stands out, I'll go in for a strike. That's the spirit! Alright. Let's go back over here. And press. Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's culpability in this case? What's that? We'll have to speak up, lad. Could you tell us more about that fire? Oh, it was last winter. My grandchildren baked me a lovely cake on my birthday. Had 75 candles on top, it did. Oh, what a sight to behold it was. Put candles on a cake? What, is that some kind of devil worship? Of course not! It was an angel cake! To celebrate my birthday, obviously! It seems that's a common custom here in Great Britain, Mr. Naruhodo. Anyway, I mustered all my puff to blow them out. Only I must have blown wrong somehow. Flames didn't go out, but candles went flying all over the room. Oh, the furniture caught and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke. Definitely sounds like devil worship to me. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold? But how did you catch a cold from a fire? Oh, what a fiasco it was! Oh, the grandchildren, bless them, threw water over me as they tried to put out the flames. And then, as the whole room had filled up with smoke, of course, I had to open all the windows to clear it. The windows. The biting winter air rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave, it did. I caught a terrible cold from it. Put me in hospital for a while. Oh, I won't forget that birthday in a hurry. I knew it was devil worship all along. Something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. Alright, so it's not going to change his statement, but we will be able to use that for opening the window with this guy over here. So pit this against... Oh, hold on. He actually changed his statement. He did actually change his statement. Winter house fires are dire. You have to open windows to clear the smoke. That's when the chill gets you, see?
Hold it!
Did you change your statement from before? Well, yes, it was one of my most memorable birthdays, you see. I couldn't let it go unremembered. I'm sure the defendant will be delighted that you're using his trial to explore your past. And how is that memory related to this case exactly? Sorry? What's that? You'll have to speak up, I'm afraid. Never mind. He's as deaf as a post when he wants to be. But actually, this old man's anecdote might just provide the alternative explanation I need to make my point to some of the other jurors. We used unlit candles on my birthday this year. It's safer that way. Okay. Oh, he didn't get notified that he was changing his statement there, so wonder if anyone else did. Evidence at the scene. Novel explanation. Yeah. Little book. Okay. So, yeah, over here. There we go.
Objection!
These two jurors' statements clearly contradict one another. They do? How exactly, counsel? Oh, point at me again? I told you it wasn't me. What's that, you say? Speak up, lad. Speak up. Juror number 3. Do you see? Oh, me? See what, sir? Did you hear juror number 6's account of his birthday celebrations last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of winter. Well, yes, of course, because it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke from a fire, then you'd be mad not to open the... Oh! Exactly. On the day in question, at the time of the incident, there was a fire in the Garadeb household. And Mr. Garadeb had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke.
Oh my.
Oh. Aha. So we do want to pursue over here, but we'll open all the windows, damn straight. Let that smoke out. She's really going ham on that tea. We're just going to continue here for... Do we continue here for now, or do we get an achievement if we press here? I get worried about this sometimes. Now we'll do as we normally do. I'm sure we'll get the chance to pursue later. Let's just continue here for now. Therefore, to clear the smoke, either Mr. Garadeb or his wife almost certainly opened the window. That, you cannot deny, would be in no way out of the ordinary. No, I suppose it wouldn't. When you get to my age, you learn a thing or two, you know? And I can tell you, you'd have to be a prize idiot not to open the window if there was a fire, eh? Yes, of course, I think I need to reconsider my statement. Yes, please do. Well, that's a step in the right direction, I think. The window could have been open when the woman was throwing the books. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. So this, he didn't actually change to innocent here, he just changed his statement. Alright.
Hold it!
At the point when the victim was attacked on Briar Road, we know there was a small house fire in the Garadeb household on the opposite side of the street. Well, yes, it certainly seems that way. And on account of the smoke, I imagine that they would have had the windows wide open in spite of the cold. We also know that Mrs. Garadeb was throwing flaming books at her husband. Her husband, who was backed into a corner by the window due to his wife's frenzied attack. Also, I don't think I said hello. Hi, Meta. Thanks for stopping by. Yes, that's right. So there's definitely a chance that one of the books could have flown past the man and out the window. Only what? Only I can't really see how it could have gone all the way over to the other side of the road, that's all. So I don't really see how I can change my decision, really. Oh, I see. That wasn't enough? What's it gonna take to persuade these people? And you didn't change yours either, did you? Alright, so we got a press over here. We'll follow up, rather.
Hold it! Oh my.
Okay, now, pursue! Sneaky Meta sneaked into the stream, didn't say hello. I think that's deserving of getting bonked. Bad, Meta. Bad.
Excuse me.
Juror number 4. Do you have something to say about that? Mrs. Garadeb. Bonked for 30 seconds. Oh. Deary me. What is the meaning of this? How dare you imply that I'm hiding who I really am? It's imperative that you confirm something for the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now. What is it? When the fire started in your house that day, did you or your husband open the window? What? I beg your pardon? What are you insinuating? The room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window. And what if we did? Oh, all right then. Yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window, which can't have been easy as I continued to give him a justly deserved book battering. Even though your house was on fire. Oh, never stop going until the anger subsides. It would be terrible for the nerves to do otherwise. Of course. I should have realized. Mm-hmm. So that lady's certainly got her priorities in order. Also, hey, Lab Rat, welcome. That's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruhodo. You've managed to establish that the window was open. We simply must have that added to Mrs. Garadeb's formal statement. Okay. Giving your husband boots to the head is more important than anything. Mm-hmm. As long as you give another boot to the head to the wimp. Phrase Helix? Now that you mention it, yes, the window was open at the time. I'd clean forgotten, but it's true.
Hold it!
The fourth book found that the scene of the crime shows very obvious signs of fire damage. And the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Garadeb told us he had been reading. Well, I really couldn't say. On the day in question, did you or did you not throw at your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he had been reading? I did. Mm-hmm. It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. And now you come to mention it, yes. He was rather enjoying reading it, you're right. Why did you not reveal this information to the court from the outset? Because I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember. At times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on, as well you know. I really don't. I'm not married, and I wouldn't throw things at my husband or wife if I were married. I barely noticed I was throwing a book, much less the title of it. Uh-huh. Alright, so we'll press over there in a moment. Or pursue, rather, but I want to continue this train of thought first. Mm-hmm. Right. Totally understandable. I mean, you can't waste time deciding what to use next, can you? When you feel the way I did, you don't care what it is. You just want to smash it into his face. You sound like a very loving woman. You see where violence can lead, Miss Susato? I'm disheartened to think you might believe me capable of such behavior. Anyway, I have a feeling I might have noticed someone reacting a little strangely to Mrs. Garadeb's remarks just now. Mm-hmm. I did not miss something while I was preoccupied. I chose to leave it so I could get that line of dialogue. Alright.
Hold it! Oh boy.
Oh, there we go. Alright. Let's have a talk with juror number 5.
Excuse me.
Scusi. I wasn't here to know why she was attacking her husband. What happened? What happened was, she discovered a love letter being used as a bookmark in one of her husband's books. Now, he claims that he bought the book secondhand, so it already had the bookmark in it. But she believes that it was a love letter to him, specifically. And that made her pissed off. And so she kind of assaulted him. He still asserts that there's no other woman. That it was that the book was secondhand. That sort of love thingy was there. He does not know the woman. What is it, juror number 5? You know something? I've remembered what it was. That memory I blocked out. Ah. It was, listen to what this granny was saying. Brought it all flooding back. Who are you calling granny, cheeky devil? I'm Mrs. Garadeb, or the maid, I'll have you know. Man doesn't even flinch. Please tell me that's not because he's so used to being hit all the time. Well, I'm not gonna say it's not because he's used to being hit all the time. It was about 2 weeks ago now. Just got back home after work. Put my hand in my pocket for all the wages I just earned that day, and I nearly died. It was a hole. Every last penny had dropped out. Oh dear, what a disaster. You haven't heard the half of it, boy. Oh. The wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out, but I told her straight. I've lost the day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ear. Stuck into the wall next to me, it did. About an inch deep. No words. Just terror. I could smell it then, you know. That god-awful stench of the Thames. Sure, I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, I can tell you. Now, that's a real disaster, isn't it? Would you like to press charges against your wife? Do we need to put you in protective custody? Like, you and your children? I'll never use the word lightly again. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose their rag, I'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammers, you name it. Mr. Naruhodo, you must think that all women are so short-tempered and unrefined. Exactly, Miss Susato. Not all women. No, I wasn't thinking that. Throwing household objects at people is... well, it's so uncivilized. At least attack with honor, using a bow or the like. What? Attack? Who are you going to attack? Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think. Alright, well, come back to the bow and arrow thing later, if I dare. Alright. Yep. Well, almost anything. Kitchen knife really brought that home to me. So that provides an alternative scenario for Miss Modern over there. Let's continue talking with this poor guy. Your wife really threw a kitchen knife at you? That's right. Was chopping meat with it. Had a tidy edge on it, I believe me. Still, it's all memories, isn't it? It started with that smile she threw me when we were courting. And since then, the list of things she's thrown at me has grown along with our relationship. There's a cup, then a glass, then a pot, a kettle, a chair, a wardrobe, a cooker, a bathtub. Your wife must be even beefier than you. And things came to a head last week when she threw me right into the Thames. Still, she's not so bad when she's calmed down. She's a little sweetheart, really. And I'm worried she's in the court right now. Please, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. I'm so happy for you. You want to know what I think? I think this whole idea of ladies first that we're so obsessed with in this country was thought up by some clever lads who'd been tossed into the Thames a few too many times by their wives. That's a very interesting theory. What a terrible thought. On the face of it, this juror's statement just sounds like a really extreme anecdote. But I think that might turn out to be an extremely powerful weapon. But the boot, or slippers, is a very honorable weapon that has been used by mostly Hispanic women to show dominance to ungrateful children. It's also been used as a weapon to show distaste for politicians, as evidenced by the man who threw his shoe at George W. Bush. And honestly, I think we should all be throwing our shoes at politicians more often. I think they should be terrified of the public. Terrified that their actions will lead to them getting a boot to the face. Weapon I might be able to use to make the jurors accept an alternative explanation here. Alright, so hit that against Ms. Modern over here.
Objection.
Those two statements clearly have a deeply significant connection. Oh, good grief, you mean they don't contradict each other? Explain, counsel, at once. Oh. Juror number 2, do you think, perhaps, bake our own weapons? Yeah, a baguette is a very dangerous weapon in the hands of someone who knows how to wield it. Do you think, perhaps, that this could be one such novel alternative? Oh my, whatever do you mean? An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? We've demonstrated that the fourth book, The Lion's Pride, that was found at the scene of the crime, originated in Mr. Garrideb's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from the Garrideb household to the street below. Yeah? What's that now? After all, Mrs. Garrideb could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4? What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole? I am beginning to think that ever since the true origins of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened. You listen here, you Eastern Galah. As the foreman of this jury, I demand a straight answer. You give us this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house. What? What is it? What was it? Really taking a big gamble here. That was a bold accusation to make. But I haven't any real evidence to back it up. But I'm certain that at the very least this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman. I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way from the Garrideb household to the scene of the crime was this other object? Hold on. Other than the book, right? Yeah, other than the book. Alright, so the jackknife. Wasn't anything sort of special about it or anything, was there? Yeah, okay.
Take
Juror number 4, Mrs. Garadeb. What? What now? I must apologize in advance for this. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that wasn't saying, like, hey, present the book again. But I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before? Ah! Good Lord, Counsel! What on earth are you doing? That's the weapon that was lodged in the victim's back, man! Judge! Don't give it away! She might choose to deny it now! My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Garadeb was hurling anything she could at her husband, who'd been backed up against the window. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the crime scene. Oh, can't seriously believe that. A book was found in the victim's grasp. Are you saying that it flew out the window and across the street to land neatly in her hand? No, not at all. She could have bent down to pick it up. Huh? Even my missus hasn't got an aim like that. Yes, I admit, there are many details we don't yet understand, but that's the point. That's precisely why we must not allow this trial to end. Not right now. Oh my. What? Mrs. Garadeb, your answer, please. Have you or have you not seen this knife before? Oh, Oh my, that sounded like a maid and or wife painting. My lord, I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all. Thank you, madame. Yes, I agree. Certainly didn't see this coming, but just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end now, with so many unanswered questions. Mr. Foreman. I'd have to agree. Not that I think the granny did it, mind. Yes, yeah. No, what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either. All together now, ladies and gents. We did it! Congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh. So, as a result of the defense's summation examination, a number of the jurors' leanings have changed. 2 jurors called guilty against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided, and this trial will continue. Marvelous! Now then, Lord Van Zieks, how does the prosecution wish to proceed? This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Fire doesn't weigh anything. No. No, it does not. Does fire weigh anything? Obviously the materials that it's burning would weigh something. But actually, I suppose fire itself wouldn't. Yeah, because you get like gas fires and stuff. I don't know. Is there a scientist in the house? Gonna toss it? Like a corked wine. The first few sips are bitter enough. Yeah, fine. That's what I was sort of thinking. Oh, Voided Lightning. Welcome. Okay, so we've got the lab rat saying fire is physical, therefore has weight, and we've got Voided Lightning saying it does not. Fire is the energy released by chemical reactions, so would therefore then be physical. Got a science debate erupting in chat. Electrons, protons, and neutrons have a weight. Does fire weigh anything? If we consider fire to be the hot air that is part of a flame, then yes, it definitely has mass and weighs slightly less than air, as the heating of the air will cause it to rise above the colder air around it. Yeah, certainly got a mathematician here as well. The fire's weight is the gas. Yeah, the density of the gas. That's an interesting sort of discussion. Sort of beyond the scope of this stream, admittedly, but always happy to learn. Learning is important. And tossed! Fire! But what follows is so repugnant, it's good for nothing, save the gutter. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks, the defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke, to which I barely know how to respond. But let me start by insisting. That's not the first time he's smashed that goblet at in even this stream. He's got so many sacred goblets. Like I'm convinced he's got like a 3D printer or something like that, or maybe he's able to summon them or project them or something like that. That you must all familiarize yourselves better with the relative positions of those places being discussed. Does it count as contempt for the court if you insinuate the jury is stupid for listening to a lawyer? I mean, I'm pretty sure, at least in this universe, contempt for the court doesn't exist. Because, like, there are so many times where people have been caught out lying and not been held in contempt that it's lost all meaning. I mean, he's probably got like a... If it's catching on fire like that, it's got to be like over 100 proof or something like that. Like more alcohol than wine. Because it's got to be a certain percentage of alcohol in order to burn. And like that's got to be like over 50%. Hope that it's good wine so that he feels bad afterwards. No, it's probably moonshine. That's what I would bet, at least. What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time? It should be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Galadep household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Yeah, but, you're not burning the wine. That's getting boiled. That's completely different meta. Which means that the distance from the Galadev's house to the scene is, yes, 15 yards. Let me see. 15 yards. That's around 14 meters. Ooh, you had some sake. Nice. What did you end up having? It's unfortunately a little bit tricky to sort of get sake for me. Like, usually I've just sort of got like bottom of the barrel sort of stuff where I'm at. But if you can get a good sake, like I do enjoy that. It's good for being heated up. You can also drink it room temperature depending, or chilled. And I suppose like one of the important things with sake is sort of like pairing it with something good. Like at least when I sort of had sake in Japan, like they sort of paired it with something good for me. And what sort of when I've gone out for like teppanyaki, I've had sake there as well, and that's been good too. Hosei Junmai sake. Okay. How did you enjoy it? $14 meters. Oh, that's a little farther than I'd imagined. And as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted, as having portentous significance. Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, most of the bottle shops here don't really have a lot in the way of sake, unfortunately. And the people there don't normally drink it, so they can't sort of offer proper recommendations. But I do like when I've got the chance. Whenever I sort of go out for like Japanese food, and they've got sake on the menu, I'll try and sort of pair up my food with that where I can, because it just works nicely that way. Also, hey Hel, how are you going? The fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering book, wantonly hurled by the lady of the house, traveled some 15 yards. I've just been streaming for about 50 minutes or so. We did finish the summation of our section. We basically just established that it was possible that a knife got thrown out of the window and stabbed her in the back. And now Van Zeeks here is saying that, like, hey, this was a very long way away. Are you sure? To land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? No, like, what I'm saying here, at least me, Araxis, is that the book was thrown first, it landed somewhere, she picked it up, and then a knife got thrown and stabbed her in the back. Much more logical. And did the jackknife follow a near identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic, serialized detective stories have more believable plots. Yes, the window was open, because the place was on fire, so the window got opened in order to let the smoke out. There's nothing I can say to that. That prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice. Well, he wouldn't be a prosecutor otherwise. Miss Susato, serialized detective stories are pathetic Are they? How dare he? Maybe let's pick our battles here. You can argue it was definitely the worst day rather than a bad day. Everyone always has at least one worst day of their lives. My lord, might I be allowed to speak? Oh, as judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense, yes? Go ahead. The prosecution may consider the idea a fantasy, but what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Garadeb, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination. Oh man, you got someone who's both a juror and a witness now. Oh man, let's toss this case out of court. Like this is... this case was tainted before it even started. The saints alive! A cross-examination of a juror? Well, she shouldn't have been a juror in the first place, let's be real. And neither should the foreman. Order! 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 Well, this is highly irregular. It is unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand. Oh.
Objection!
There goes the bottle of wine. And unnecessary. Lord Van Zieks. There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's farcical theory has any truth in it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have flown through the sky before this couple's eyes. And we must assume they would be able to testify accordingly. What say you, witnesses? Yes, sir! Constable Rowley Beat, reporting for duty, sir! And he's about to fall asleep again. Well, good morning, officer. Sorry for dozing off until now, sir! I haven't slept for a month on account of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sir! Oh, they are so heroic, these London bobbies. Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more! Oh, Rowley, my hero, you make me swoon. Very well. I hereby reject the defense's request. Oh. And order the witnesses to stand to testify again. State forthwith before the court and any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of events. Oh. Yes, sir! He really is different when he's awake. But he is not often awake. This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb. Believe me, a London bobby is good for his word. You see, sir, the window on the top floor of the Garadeb house are top-hinged casements. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Rowley was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir! Nothing strange to report on that front, sir! I'm still convinced you were asleep. Well, this is quite startling. Top-hinged casement windows. That detail was not in the police report, Constable. Yes, sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy. Hmm. You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable. I shall have to report back to my manor at midnight tonight for enforced sleep. Make sure your neck has been bathed. No, sir! Sorry, but what exactly is a top-hinged casement window? And you cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend. Hey, Senpai, welcome. Hope you're doing all right. Of course. Sorry. I found it, Mr. Naruhodo. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb's room. All right, I'll try. So, the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house. Ah, but as it is a top-hinged casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see. Okay. So anything sort of thrown out that window, well, it wouldn't go very far. You can't just sort of throw something straight out, it'll just sort of drop down, really. Unless you sort of try to reach out and throw across, but even that would be pretty damn awkward. I'm glad you've rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is its stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount. It prevents its opening? Oh, this is all news to me. Absolutely correct, sir! In other words, if a book or knife were to have been thrown through the open window, it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below. Yeah. And that would mean that the body would have to have been moved afterwards. You see the problem then. Good. Your education in the dark side is complete. Soon you shall become my apprentice and join the dark side of the Force. There was never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane had been shattered. Something we've discounted already. Yeah. The window's not broken. That can't be. Alright, see you later, Senpai. Have a good day, okay? Unless you haven't slept, in which case I hope you sleep well. Oh, did you see that, Raleigh? Oh, that young Japanese man just collapsed in agony. Oh, yes, my darling, I saw it. I saw how he crumbled before me. Oh, Raleigh, you're so strong. How is this happening? Yep. Cats be how cats be. I haven't even started the cross-examination yet, and already my argument's been destroyed. Counsel, if you could drag yourself upright again, the court awaits your cross-examination. Oh, oh, oh. My lord? Oh, good. Another desperate situation. Okay, I'm just gonna have a drink real quick. Okay. Yep, alright. Okay. London Bobby's good for his word. Yep, so we'll press that. How can you say that for certain? A very good question, sir. And the answer is this. It has the noble founding principles of the Force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty. Showed us that before, didn't he? Did he? I can't say I remember. That was a week ago. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man is what the job's all about. And that is why I can stand here today beside my long-suffering wife and tell you a Bobby's good for his word. While, rubbing my tired eyes admittedly. Sir! Oh, Rolly, are you so manly? Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. No, none of this is what I meant. At least someone here has a happy marriage, alright? At least they're happy. Let's be happy for them. He's as honest as he is while he is awake. So, while he's asleep, if he doesn't know, then he couldn't sort of like see evil or hear evil, right? I meant, how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garradeb? Can't lie about what he doesn't know, exactly. Mm-hmm. Ah, I see, sir. You should have said so earlier, sir. Yes. So, could you answer the question? That was a waste of time then. Absolutely, sir. I will answer it to the fullest of my abilities, sir. Fullest of my abilities. Again, he will answer to the fullest of his abilities, and if it's beyond his abilities, well, he can't answer it. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garradeb's domestic dispute can't be related to this case. But before I get into that, sir, just one thing. Yes? I'd very much like you and all your countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard. So, I hope you'll take back some tales of us London Bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles. I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I've only just arrived here. So, to that end, sir, I'd be happy to lend you my warrant card for your perusal. But I must warn you, you won't be able to get through it without shedding a few tears. Thank you. I'll try. And I'll add this to evidence, which is going to be important. A small folding wallet that identifies London Bobbies and contains the rules of conduct to which they must adhere. So this was indeed important. Alright. Now let's have a quick look at this, shall we? Examine. Item 1. Now, policemen will strive to preserve the peace within his allotted beat. 2. A patrolling officer is expected to walk 20 miles around his beat every day for the furtherance of community relations. And regulations. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Nothing really stands out here, admittedly. We know that he had this wasn't his beat. This was his day off, and they were just sort of walking around, stumbled upon this. And their story is that Polly went off to fetch the policeman whose beat it actually was. And he sort of stayed to guard the place. Alright. Alright.
Hold it!
By which you mean they don't open fully. Is that correct? Yes, sir! They're just there to allow a bit of air through the house, you see? So, they're restricted as to how much they open. And therefore, anything thrown out of the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark the map. Here is the location where objects would have fallen. Yes. Directly opposite the scene of the crime, on the other side of the rather wide road. Would it have been so hard for somebody to mention this top-hinged casement thing before? Well, I have another question for you, Constable. And what would that be, sir? How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mrs. Scaradeb's house is furnished with? Well, sir, that's very simple. You see, I helped with the investigation today. Aha. He wasn't supposed to, if I recall right. Based on the rules. Okay, let's we'll keep this in mind. You helped? In what way? Various members of the public were questioned in order to gather information about the case. That's right, sir! Sad truth is, we're all overworked. So, even though it wasn't under the jurisdiction of my own beat, I obviously wanted to help. I see. Yes. That is indeed the case, Meta. I see. Well, thank you. That is correct. Oh, is it my turn now? Okay, so we have got to go back to the second one. Anything thrown out the window, we would have seen it.
Hold it!
According to my notes here, the sun had gone down already, and it was dark. Oh, but Rolly and I were strolling along, gazing at the night sky and looking for our lucky star. Sorry? Oh, the star! That will guide us to eternal happiness. Can't it guide you to answer the question? If a flaming book had cut across the sky in front of us, it would have lit up like a shooting star. And if I'd seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. Let Rolly be an inspector, I would have said. 3 times at least. Of course. What with the smog and everything, we wouldn't actually see any stars. In short, are you trying to say that neither a book nor a knife crossed the sky before you? Yes, sir! That is correct, sir! As sure as the night sky in London is starless, sir! Hello, Drago? Madrago? Mabancho? It certainly seems like they're telling the truth. And then we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, and we ran straight over to help her. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusted Broly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed.
Hold it!
Yes, you said that you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer. Is that right? This is currently the 4th case, so I think it's the same case that you last saw. The one with the woman who got stabbed in the street, throwing shade on London. I mean, London's got enough shade. It's got so much smog, right? That's right, yes. If it had been on Rolly's beat, I would have known exactly where I was going, of course. Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box on every beat. So Rolly told me the way. Only I sort of got a little lost on the way. Oh, Patricia, my darling. That's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitching to me. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, please. Sir, I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes. But like I said, my Rolly was at the scene the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed. This is taking public displays of affection to a whole new level. Yeah, PDA. PDFs are indeed a file. Yeah, but the Doctor's police box changes all the time, right? Like it's always in a different place, a different time, a different dimension. All this timey-wimey sort of stuff. I was on duty at the time, of course, but a true Bobby is never really off duty, sir! This is why you've never had any sleep. Okay, didn't take my eyes off the crime scene for one moment. Are you sure you didn't go to sleep? I'm convinced you went to sleep.
Hold it!
Nothing to report. That's correct, sir! I had my eyes wide open the entire time. Never looked away for a second. No one else approached the scene. Nothing was removed from it. Yeah, I like these two. Like, you've got two families that are in sort of abusive relationships, and you got these two are sort of making all up for it. The Japanese Kabans, they're police boxes, I'm guessing. I definitely saw a few of those while I was in Japan. I wasn't going out of my way to look for police boxes, I admit. But yeah. There was one just across the road from one of the places I was staying at. I could swear to that on my yard's honor, sir! Really? That seems a little strange. I beg your pardon, sir? Strange, sir? That seems altogether regular to me. Unless they're looking for trouble, or trouble has already happened. This burnt copy of The Lion's Pride was originally in the Garadeb household. So the question remains, how did it find its way into the hand of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time? Aha! Could it be a different copy, sir? One that just happened to be burnt as well? Even if that were possible, why would the victim had been grabbing a book like that in her hand. As we can see from this photographic print, she had a bag over her shoulder. Well, sir, that book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the scene. Is that so? There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. Two mysteries of how that knife ended up in her back and how that book ended up in her hand. Must be some common thread between them. I'm so sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. I had no right to speak out. What do you mean? I requested the cross-examination of Mrs. Garrideb without consulting you. Even if the judge did deny me. Oh, I see. Well, I agree with you. We do need testimony from Mrs. Garrideb. If we're ever going to get to the truth of this matter. Do you really think so? Well, think about it. No matter how far it is across the road or how that window opens, Mr. Garrideb's book found its way to the scene of the crime somehow, didn't it? You're right. And then there's Mrs. Garrideb's reaction to me showing her the knife. The woman's hiding something, I'm sure of it. You're right again. We need to use this cross-examination to uncover more clues. We'll get to the bottom of this one way or another, I swear. Yes. Alright, so press here, and we get a reaction out of Patricia here. So I'll have to follow up on that. Okay. Here we go. And pursue. Do you have something to add, Mrs. Beat? Sorry? You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that? Oh, I was just remembering, that's all. We really were so lucky. Lucky? What do you mean? Well, of course, I feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. We're just so lucky it didn't happen on Rowley's beat. It was so close, you see. Oh, I hadn't realized. Oh yes, that street, Briar Road, that's the boundary between Rowley's beat and the next one. Isn't that right, my love? Oh, he's nodded off. Constable Beat. Oh, yes, that's right. That's the reason I was, helping out with the interviewing the occupants of the Garrideb household yesterday. Their house is on my beat, you see. Sir? Did they happen to move it over to the next one so that it wouldn't be on Rowley's beat? That really was cutting it close then. Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Garrideb household is on your beat, does that mean the pavement next to it is as well? Outside Mr. Garrideb's house? Yes, ma'am. The pavement on that side of the road is part of my beat. I see. I was unaware of that. Just think, if the woman had been attacked just on the other side of Briar Road, we would never have been able to go for that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. But that's the life of a Bobby, after all. Extraordinary people, our bobbies. Tirelessly working for the benefit of all Londoners. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, do you know what I think? I think it was the good Lord's way of rewarding my Rolly for all his hard work. I agree entirely, Lightning. Oh, don't you think so, my darling? That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it. I think perhaps we should make sure we have the information officially on record. Leave it to me, Mr. Naruhodo. I'll take care of it immediately. Okay. The case file has been updated. The border of which runs down the middle of Briar Road. Okay, let me, Okay, so nothing else got added specifically here. I think it's just sort of saying that the border runs down the middle of Briar Road. Okay. Now it's my turn, I think. Can I ask you something? Please, Mr. Lawyer, sir? Oh, yes, of course. What is it? You're doubting us, aren't you? I can tell. Aha, she's going to elaborate more. That's going to help us out. What? I wasn't really. I mean, what's she doing? Please, just because I'm a woman doesn't make my testimony any less valuable. You might just see me as the wife of a policeman, but I'm a woman of my word, I am. I really don't remember ever suggesting that I doubted you. No excuses. I don't want to hear it. Yeah, she's starting to get rather defensive. She wants to really prove that things are all right, to cover up that they probably moved the body so that it was outside of his beat. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you? Yes, Mrs. Beat. I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you so desire. Sometimes, path of least resistance is the sage one. Oh, oh, oh. That was a very loud mutter. I heard that! That Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife's word counts for nothing, does he? Well, watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, but my Rolly won't. Duly noted, Mrs. Beat. Please, I humbly ask that you to continue. What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder? I know what I saw. My eyes never let me down. My sense of direction is a little off sometimes, though. Yeah, she's very excitable to make up for her husband, who's usually asleep, except when he's working.
Hold it!
Mrs. B, nobody is questioning what you've told us. I saw it, I did. That evening, I saw it clearly. Oh, that little Eastern man with the whiskers and the funny curved back, slinking away from the scene. So I think she might have gotten the direction that he was going mixed up, and possibly the direction of the road. So maybe she doesn't realize that the body got moved by Rolly while she was gone. That might be what happened. Oh, she's going to be so upset with her husband when she finds out that he moved the body. And I know what I didn't see as well. I didn't see any flaming books or knives flying through the sky. All very clear. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction. Oh, Yes. Well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ending up at the wrong place when I've made arrangements to meet Rolly. He gets ever so cross. Alright, so we'll have to talk with Rolly there about that, it seems. The books were flaming. They were on fire. Oh, well, we've all made mistakes like that from time to time, I'm sure. I got the wrong church on the day of our wedding, I remember. It caused a terrible kerfuffle. I very nearly got married to someone I'd never even met before. Now that would be most certainly not do, madame. Anyway, continue with your testimony, please, Constable. Yes, sir! Alright, let's go back to that one. Okay. Alright. So what do you have to add on to this, Rolly?
Excuse me.
Constable Beat, is there a problem? No, sir. No problem, sir. Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Oh, well, in a way, sir. Yes, sir. I was, just remembering that the same thing happened this evening is all. You mean Mrs. Beat lost her way on the night of the incident? Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box in the next beat over from mine. But she was gone a fair bit longer than what I was expecting. I thought she'd be back inside 10 minutes, but my darling was gone a good 15. Oh, Rolly, you're such a tease. But the reason I was so long was because of the bouquet, silly. Bouquet? Sorry? What bouquet are you talking about? Oh, it was a present for our wedding anniversary. Rolly's so romantic. He saved up for it with farthings and halfpennies that he found in the gutter while doing his rounds. Yes. How romantic. I'd forgotten all about it until just now. Had you, my darling? Oh, yes. But that was just between us. No talking about it to anyone else, darling. You have to promise. Really? Oh. What was that all about? Constable Beat looked very obviously troubled during that exchange. I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruhodo. But I'm quite sure of one thing. We have to ask Mrs. Beat about the bouquet. Mrs. Beat, this bouquet that you just mentioned, I'd like you to add details about it to your testimony, please. Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to. Okay, drop your bouquet. Let's press you on this, shall we? Mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime? Yes, that's right. Oh, I was so upset. Aha! Aha! The bouquet was on the other side of the road. If I remember right, there was like a trash can sort of next to the apartment. right? And that bouquet was over there, which would be in Mr. Beat's jurisdiction. I think I'm remembering right. It was a little while since we had investigated the scene of the crime, but I'm pretty sure that there was a huge sort of floral bouquet, like like leaning against the building. Oh, when we ran over and saw it was a woman with a knife in her back. Yep, the body was moved. Aha, indeed. I was so shocked. I dropped the bouquet that Rolly gave me. Oh, it was in a dark spot where the street lights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice at first. And then you went to the police box to report it to the policeman whose beat it was on? Yes, and I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see? That's when I spotted my bouquet again. But the funny thing was, when I went to pick it up, it was nowhere near the victim's body at all. In case you need reminding, Mrs. B, the victim is not deceased. I was all flustered for a moment before I heard a voice calling me from the other side of the road. Your husband, presumably? That's right. Silly me. I'd gone over to the wrong side of the street. Although I'm going to blame the bouquet this time, I can't think how it got there. I can't. So the bouquet somehow moved from one side of Briar Road to the opposite. Curious indeed, isn't it? But the worst of it is, I forgot to pick the bouquet up again, and we left the scene. That beautiful rose Rolly bought me. With that change from the gutter that he spent so long collecting. By bouquet, do you perhaps mean this solitary rose? Oh, yes, that's it. Oh, that's the bouquet Rolly bought me for our anniversary, with old bits of change that he found in the gutter. Maybe just call it a rose. Tell us, Lord Van Zeeks, where did you come by the flower? According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, it was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Galadeb household. In front of the Galadeb's house, although it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be of no relevance to the case, since it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare. Oh, thank you, sir, thank you. Oh, could I have it back now, please? No. I think, for good measure, the rose should be added to the court record as evidence. Oh. The anniversary bouquet has been entered into the court record. Present for Patricia Beat from her husband, Rolly. Shock of seeing the stabbed victim caused Mrs. Beat to drop the rose where it stood. But it's a symbol of our love. Let's examine the rose. An English rose. Oh, it's such a beautiful flower. This is a rose, is it? I've never seen one before. Do you not take an interest in flowers, Mr. Naruhodo? I wouldn't say that exactly, but I do know 3 types at least. Gosh, 3? Yes, plum blossom, peach blossom, and cherry blossom. Perhaps you should consider branching out, learning some that aren't fruit tree based, for example. And bundled up over here, apparently. Oh. Mm-hmm. I did catch that. I enjoy the puns. Puns on plums. It's very stylish paper. The flower's wrapped in, isn't it? It's just an old newspaper, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, I suppose it's because I'm not used to seeing English print. It looks so exotic to me. Ah, I see. Is something wrong? Oh, no, I was just thinking that if you wrapped a stone-baked sweet potato in English newspaper, it might look like some sort of fancy cake. Ah, Zato-san, you do love your cakes. I do love my cakes as well. Now, anything else we need to note? We've clicked on that. Is this something different at all? That's just about the rose. Okay. The leaf, maybe? No. Could just be that there's nothing here that's important right now. I think it's more important that we've got this rose that will prove that the body was moved. I want it back after the trial. Do you hear me? I want it back. Oh, good grief! Rest assured that I shall do my very best not to forget, Mrs. Beat. Okay. Okay. So, where in particular are we looking to present evidence, I wonder? There wasn't anything that we needed to sort of press on here, was there? Oh, Vampire Kaizen, thank you very much for following. Welcome to the Fox Shrine. I hope you enjoy your stay. Okay. Nothing strange to report. Well, I mean, report on the rose, right? Why was it on the other side of the road?
Objection!
You claim, Constable Beat, there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes that you were guarding the scene. But that cannot be. What? What do you mean to say? In your testimony just now, Mrs. Beat, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime with the policeman assigned to that beat, the bouquet that you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby.
Objection!
Yes, on the opposite side of Briar Road, to where the victim was attacked. I like that saying Briar Road, and a rose is a key piece of evidence. Roses having thorns, and briar bushes also being known for being pointy. But, considering the size of that meager bouquet, if a single sorry bloom can be so described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs. That is very rude to someone else's love, right there, Banzies. Meager?
Objection!
But if that were the case, why did Constable Beat not testify to the fact? No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beat swore to that on Scotland Yard's honour. The bouquet belonged to me. It has nothing to do with the case. That's why Rowley didn't mention it, I'm sure. No, because sadly, it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way around. What are you talking about? Think about it. Besides Mrs. Beat's bouquet, there's Mr. Garrideb's book. Mr. Garrideb's copy of The Lion's Pride, which was thrown out the window by his wife, would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here, on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here, on the opposite side of the road, in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Mrs. Beat's bouquet should have been dropped here at the scene of the crime, on the east side of the street, but, in fact, it was actually found here, on the opposite side of the road, in front of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house. No, you can't touch the fluffy tail. We have a bunch of people in chat who keep on trying to touch it, and that's an invasion of personal space. So it is off the table of people. They're not allowed to touch. I wouldn't touch unless I was told you could. Well, honestly, that puts you on a much better footing than some of the other people in chat. But I still can't deny that. No, it's all right. You can like fluffy things. You can like fluffy things. Like I'll give you a better look at the tail, at least. You can have a look. You can have a look. That's all right, right? That's fine. You can look. You can looky, but you can't touchy. No, I totally understand, Hell. I agree. I've got a new chair on order. I feel like this chair is on its way out, so I bought myself a new chair. It's hopefully going to arrive soon, but I'm currently on quarantine at the moment, so it might take longer than expected. Honestly, last time I ordered a chair, it was a few months delayed. But yeah. With any luck, I'll be able to get it soon. Yeah, I know. Aren't the only one with a fluffy tail. Yeah, you can touch your fluffy tail. There you go. Yeah, keep yours safe. Because other people might try to sort of touch it without permission. Okay. Yeah, there's no logical explanation for those things. Unless somebody deliberately moved them. What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my Rowley's done something wrong. Or don't you listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says. The lawyers are always lying. Healthy error? Yeah, no problem. Let's Let's do that. Give me a second. Honestly, I should be drinking more. All right. I've got my drink here. Take a big drink there. Okay. And stretch a little bit. There we go. Stretch. All right. Here we go. All right. Okay. And you all should stretch as well. As it's quite possible some of you have just been sitting there for 2 hours. Like myself. Okay. And I do apologize for the chair creaks. Wittering on about books and bouquets? Why should we care? It's nitpicking. That's what it is. Oh, good. Mrs. Garadeb's come around. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Garadeb, but deliberately meddling with the scene of a crime is a criminal offense. It's called, tampering, Mr. Naruhodo. But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it for a very subtle but compelling reason.
Objection!
Tampering? You've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend, who would possibly have had cause to carry out such an elaborate deception? There is someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. Criminal offense that there's no recompense towards the one who does the tampering. And they are, in so doing, deserving a boot to the head. All the evidence and all the testimony points to that one particular person. Counsel, I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime? Old Rolly Beat over here. That's who.
Take that!
Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Constable Rolly Beat, it was you. What? A policeman? A member of Scotland Yard? Committing a crime? Why? Who ever heard of the police committing crimes? What nonsense! Oh, why would my Rolly do something like that? That's no one straighter than my husband. Oh, no, Bobby works more tirelessly for the people of London. Mrs. Beat, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it. Honestly, that sounds like me, to be honest. Especially right now that I don't have a job to go to. Basically, just in this chair. Honestly, it's probably put more wear on this chair. And that's why it's sort of creaking now. I really need to get a new chair. I got myself... Oh, did you? What chair did you get? I actually decided to order myself something quite special, actually. A steel case gesture, which is apparently supposed to be a really sort of top-of-the-line chair. Because I figured if I'm going to be sitting in something for a long time, I should get something that'll be good for my back. And while it doesn't have the recline that my current chair has, it's supposed to be quite good for you. Okay. You're making it up. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. One of those chairs that you find at banks or doctor's offices because it's sturdy, hard on your back, making it so you won't fall asleep in it. Yeah, right now, I definitely sort of fall asleep in this chair. Again, because of that recline function, it's easy to sort of lean back and fall asleep. Although, like, I don't like how wobbly it started to feel, and the creaking. So, new chair, something that will be good for my back. What about that Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it.
Objection.
If that was true, Constable Beat would have seen him do it. Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Well.
Objection.
First, you make accusations about the landlord and his wife. Now, you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. You claim the crime scene was tampered with. But there is only one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime: to hide something. That's right. He's right. My husband and I just happened to be there, that's all. So why would we have anything to hide? It doesn't make sense. You've offered no motive for this alleged tampering. And until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats. Constable Beat had a very good reason for wanting to tamper with the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair. Mr. Naruhodo, have you managed to solve this mystery? Yeah, exactly. He wanted to spend time with his wife. He didn't want to do more work. Consul, you have made a very serious accusation against a London police officer. Oh. If you are mistaken, I'm sure I need not point out that your reputation as a lawyer will be irrevocably damaged. With that stark warning in mind, you will now explain to the court the motive for this alleged tampering. Yes, my lord. Constable Beat's motive, tampering with the crime scene, was to hide where the victim fell. Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this Bobby had to cover up at all costs. What? Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? Oh, what are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement of Briar Road. We saw it happen, remember? It was right here, as if anyone didn't already know. That's certainly what everybody has been led to believe. But, in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all. What? What? I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, Consul. If that's your assertion, and the court is dying to know, my Nipponese friend, where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening? Right over here.
Take that!
But that's on the opposite side of the road. I don't understand. On the evening in question, Mr. Garadeb's book fell directly down from the open window above, and your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself. Good gracious!
Objection!
Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place. That's right, I saw it with my own eyes. It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was a typical London fog on the ground. When you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid, that was actually on the west side of Briar Road. No, that's not true. It can't have been. Constable Beat then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown in this print. The victim herself, the 4 books. He moved everything, in fact. The pavement on the east side of Briar Road. Extraordinary! But the constable overlooked one thing. What? What did he overlook? The bouquet, I presume. Exactly. The prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Van Zieks said it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. Yes, it couldn't be seen in the dark, obviously. Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in its original position, on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond, Constable Rowley Beat? Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important? Oh, Rowley. It isn't true, is it? What that lawyer said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is, because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know. I had a dream. A terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything. Come out. Everything. Exposed. Only, it seems, it wasn't a dream at all. Good golly! Order! 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 What on earth is the meaning of all this? Oh, Rowley, why? Why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it? He's not dead. Wishing the victim dead should be one too. Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London Town. I can't say, sir. What? I really am ever so sorry about all this. For damaging the Yard's reputation, for everything. I have a possible explanation for why, on that particular evening, Constable Beat felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason. What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman. And yet, Lord Van Zeeks, it is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth in the matter thus far. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please. Yes, my lord. Now then, I think you had better show us some evidence. At once, my lord. England, Japan, makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions. What gives away the motives for Constable Beat's unthinkable actions? What is the game wanting from me? Would obviously be this, because this is the anniversary bouquet.
Take that!
I realize that I am a foreigner in this land, and I have only just arrived from Japan, which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learnt that, though honourable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example. Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on his beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt that the young Bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly. But the Constable Beat, the day in question was special. Special? How? On account of this bouquet, my lord. Oh, yes! It was our very first wedding anniversary. Constable Beat worked so hard to be able to afford this simple gift for his wife, and was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal. Then he and Mrs. Beat stumbled upon a climb along Briar Road. When he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them, what must have gone through the man's mind? Sir, on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beat puts up with a lot being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. This is the warrant card that Constable Beat offered to lend to me earlier. Inside, among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, Our policemen must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Aha! Constable Beat. Is that, or is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day? Yes. Everything you said, it's all right. So, that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beat. Oh! Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beat's beat. Good gracious! Constable! Do you realize the gravity of what you have done? It was the first time since I became a copper that I'd ever cursed God. Now stay close to me, Pat, or the criminal could still be lurking somewhere. As we ran over to the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. Oh, you've got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Why here? Why did this have to happen here? Why tonight of all nights? Why? Popper's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then that, when I opened my mouth to speak, it just came out. I wouldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat. Oh, you'll have to go to the police box that covers it. Turn right along Meersham Street, and then... he did do something wrong, but that doesn't get us closer to the original purpose of this trial. Well, it does say that the crime scene was contaminated, and that the accused should therefore not be... the trial should be adjourned due to police malpractice. So it doesn't matter. The crime scene has been contaminated irrevocably and tainted. Evidence has been misplaced, mishandled. It's possible there could be a retrial, certainly. And hopefully with a better jury where we can put that lady up as a witness and possibly as the person who accidentally stabbed this woman in the back. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, Constable. I just wanted, just that one night, to take my Patricia out for dinner. Yep. He's lost his job. out of this, I imagine. His wife as well, possibly. His like this is a demonstration of his love for his wife, certainly, but she loves that he's so dedicated to his job and he's basically betrayed it. Like, I wonder how she's gonna feel about that. Like, will she respect that he did this for her, or will she be sort of like lost in that? Like, she sees him as a hero, and this has basically broken that pedestal. Her husband is not the perfect Bobby. Oh, Broly. Just that one night. You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined. And so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction, just across the street to the east pavement of Briar Road, which falls under the neighboring Beat's care. You see, I thought, well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see. I beg your pardon? Oh, of course he did. Otherwise, my Broly would never have left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement. Ah, I see your meaning now. But God got me back for my sins, didn't he? That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat. Oh no, Broly, that was all my fault. I should never have dropped it in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Broly. And can you tell us, Constable, how many books did you move from the one side of the road to the other in total? 4 it was. Yes, sir. Definitely 4. 3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume, and the 4th being the one that fell from the window upstairs in the Garadeb household, of course. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand when all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean? Oh, well, sir, that's because of how I found it. How you found it? What do you mean? When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. You're sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding? Oh, yes, sir. No doubt about it, sir. Interesting. Yep, Mr. Beat first ran over to see what had happened. Yep. I thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see. There were only the 2 people at the scene, and Pat and me both saw it happen. However which way you looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who'd done it, I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think moving it all over the road would make a jot of difference. I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it. You have, Broly. My lord. Yes, Lord Van Zieks. I believe This concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. Constable, you may withdraw. Yes, sir! Mr. Prosecutor, sir? What will become of my Rolly? What will happen to him? For now, you are free to go home. The police will contact you in due course. Please, don't punish my husband. This was all my fault. It's because I'm always moaning at him for coming home late. Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired. All right, then, my love. One last thing, Constable. Sir, let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you. I'm sure he'll be getting a lot more sleep in the future. Yes, sir. Carve that lesson in your mind. Quite. I mean, London's a big place. He might be able to get a job as something else. But, yeah. Who knows? His reputation's going to be shot. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime. Never again, sir? You mean to say? Leave now. This trial is not yet over. Sir! Oh, maybe they're just gonna reprimand him. Might do good as a librarian or teacher. Seems to have a good memory. It sounds like the prosecutor wants to keep him on. Yeah. That's what it's sort of looking like now. Oh. Well, quite a startling revelation, I must say. Whoever thought of a third party transplanting the entire scene of a crime like that? Oh. Indeed, my lord. Nonetheless, there are some immutable facts here. Principally, that the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is the only person who could possibly have committed this crime. No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there is someone else. Yeah, he does seem to be a noble, and prosecutors in Ace Attorney games tend to have a lot of power. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already. Lord Van Zieks, is this true? Very well. Name the person if you will, and if further investigation is warranted. The prosecution has no objection to the trial continuing. I totally understand. I'm always one to say, don't work too hard. It's not worth it. Because the only reward for a job well done is more work. He does seem like he's genuinely good at his job. He probably hasn't had any problems in the past other than this. Admittedly, it is a very big black mark to have. I do understand his motivation here. Like it's very human motivation, to be honest. And honestly, they shouldn't be working them so hard in the first place. It's not fair. You will name this other person who would have perpetrated the crime. Mm-hmm. I agree, Lightning. I have not, but I have absolutely... I do know people who basically work themselves to the bone, and they don't really have a life. And I urge them all the time, like, don't work so hard, don't work so hard. But yeah, it's can be quite hard on a person. And I've seen people at my workplace as well. Like some of them, like they have, they work like 6 days a week. Sometimes like at one point, I think they were even working 7 days a week for some people at a different shop, and that was absolutely wrecking them. And like that's completely too much to ask of a person. It's not right at all. So honestly, I'm on Rolly's side here. It was horrible what happened. That it's possibly leading to an innocent person, but I can relate. I can understand what's going on, and I don't want to see like his entire life ruined because of it. Honestly, I want to see him get like a proper 5-day... No, not even 5 days a week. 4 days a week. And 6 hours. 4 days a week, 6-hour work days. For everyone. That's what we should have. But yeah, other person who could have perpetrated the crime, Joan Garadeb.
Take that!
The defense would once again like to request the cross-examination of a new witness, my lord. Once again? My assistant made the same request earlier. In order to finally reveal the truth about this case. I haven't actually played Yakuza 0. It's definitely on my list of things to play. Like I've just sort of finished playing Yakuza Like a Dragon. So I want to sort of like take a step back from the Yakuza games for a second. But I do want to play Yakuza 0 because I've heard nothing but good things about that. And I very much enjoyed my time with Like a Dragon, even if they're different sorts of games. Yep, totally understand. Thank you very much for not sort of spoiling things, but that's absolutely a good quote. I don't want to have someone who has worked so hard have their life ruined. Yeah, Zero's the prequel. So when I do eventually get around to Yakuza 0, like more Yakuza games, it will be Yakuza 0, then Kiwami 1, and then Kiwami 2, I guess. Alright, let's... It's imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Garadeb. Me? Oh, hearing me.
Objection!
That request has already been denied.
Objection!
But the situation is very different now. Mrs. Garadeb, answer me this. What do you want now, you little toad? At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. John Garadeb. In the course of the argument, a minor house fire was ignited, and to clear the smoke from the room, your husband opened a window that looks out over Briar Road. Well, what of it? You threw this book at your husband, when he was cornered with his back against the window. Upon striking the pane of the open-top hinged casement window, the book plummeted directly down, finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident. Yes, and as I said, what of it? During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you could lay your hands on. So, let me ask you one more time, Mrs. Garadeb. This knife, this one removed from the victim's back, have you really never laid eyes on it before? Ah! I don't recall it. This woman is lying under oath. I suppose we haven't made her say. I don't remember. The jurors are under oath as well, aren't they? Whatever. Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? And anyway, the man over there in all that regalia said members of the jury needn't testify, didn't he? Conveniently, yes. And again, you shouldn't be on the jury because you know the accused.
Objection!
No. I have no recollection of saying that at all. Juror number 4. Oh. Make no mistake. You jurors are not special in any way. You are not immune to the judicial process. If you know something about this knife, madame, let the truth come out. But that's just a common or garden knife. It could have come from anywhere. We have several like that at home. If one went missing, how would you expect me to know? What's that? Are you joking? What are you saying? Please, Mrs. Garadeb. Yeah, he's not the evil prosecutor. We've established this before. Like he's ruthless, certainly, but he does have standards. He's closer to a Simon Blackquill, I think, or possibly who's that guy who plays the guitar? Yeah, he's definitely kind of working against himself, but we also kind of worked against ourselves when we agreed with him in saying that it looked like our stuff had been tampered with in the carriage. Like he sort of asked us, and we had examined it, and I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. This does not look right here at all. But lawyers, like, while they have the duty to be zealous advocates for their client, they are supposed to, do so in accordance with the truth. And like, even lawyers, they're supposed to sort of work with each other, like, even if they're opposed to each other. Like, if they know of evidence, they're supposed to tell the other person about this. Now, you listen to me. I refuse to believe all this nonsense. I couldn't bear the thought that I'd injured someone. Do you hear? I couldn't bear it. Oh, the poor woman. So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence if you're going to insist on this being my fault. I'm not a member of the judicial system, so I can't actually sort of comment on this. I can only sort of comment on what lawyers are supposed to be, at least. And obviously that's different compared to what things are like versus fiction versus reality. And yeah, lawyers don't actually do the investigation. Like, the investigation's all been done. They just sort of collate the defenses and evidence and all that. And I suppose technically lawyers are all going to be colleagues of each other, so... yeah. I don't know. It would be nice to have a lawyer sort of comment on this, if possible. The things being argued aren't actually guiltiness, more their interpretation of the law and the defense trying to get the minimal punishment possible. Yeah. Yeah, things work differently. And I'm absolutely not going to pretend that the judicial system of any country is perfect, because it is absolutely not. There are flaws everywhere, and you'll often see the rich being able to sort of get away with more things than the poor are. Laws being enforced disproportionately against certain groups of people, and that is absolutely wrong. Often money is a factor, race, sex, gender, they can also be factors in this. Can also be personal vendettas involved, but at least in theory, that's what the judicial system is. But I will say, like, if a law is unjust, don't obey that law. Because sometimes the law is unjust. You're going to have to prove to me that I threw that knife, if that's what you think. Come along now, chop chop. Do your worst. Well, Mr. Naruhodo? If I had evidence like that, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already. Then take the stand, juror. Oh. The prosecution does not object to the defense's request to cross-examine this woman. Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks. I'm going to have to testify? Juror number 4, as I'm sure you will appreciate, having observed it with your own eyes today, witness testimony can lead to the most extraordinary truths being unearthed. Truths of which the witnesses themselves may not even have been aware. Oh, dearie me. So, I demand your full and unadulterated testimony, Mr. Zgaradeb, and mark my words, in this court of law today, we shall extract the truth. Do you concur, consuls? Certainly, my lord. That's what I'm hoping for, my lord. Epic music. This is such a strange feeling. Yeah, no problem, Void. For the first time since arriving in this country, it actually feels real. I'm here, in the Old Bailey, and I'm a lawyer. Witness, state your name and occupation. Oh, yes, my name is Joan Garadeb, and I'm a juror, and such like. sounds like even she doesn't know if she's a housewife or a maid or what anymore. The court has decided that your testimony is required in order to clarify matters in this case. Do you understand, madame? Yes, my lord. You will tell the court everything that took place in your household on the evening in question. And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth. Oh, dearie me. Chin up, Joni. Nothing to worry about. Oh, hello. Oh, I didn't know you were here, John. I suddenly managed to grab him along, did we? Oh, wasn't only you in that room that day, old thing, was it? Rather think I ought to testify as well, don't you? But what about your knee, dear? Oh, don't you worry about that. Hardly notice it. I'm not the sort of chap to leave a comrade to face disciplinary action alone. Oh, John. I presume you are Mr. John Garadet? Yes, sir. Former second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment of the 4th Northumberland Fusiliers. Sir! Seen my fair share of action and now living the quiet life, as it were. Quiet life. Were you not engaged in an incendiary battle with your spouse on the day in question? Well, yes, quite. I believe this, may represent a first in the proud history of the British court. Holding a juror to the witness stand is unprecedented. However, the court will hear your testimony now, juror number 4, and that of your husband. You will recount clearly and concisely the events in your home at the time of the incident in question. Sir, at once! That's, quiet by her standards, sir. Anyway. I feel like I'm gonna have to call it here for the night, unfortunately. I'm feeling a little bit lightheaded, and it might be because I just haven't eaten enough today or something like that. I might just have been sort of pressing myself a little bit much. Not quite sure, but just not sort of feeling the best right now. So I'm gonna call things here. Even though normally I'd sort of continue for another hour, I feel it's best to get something warm or something. I'll see if I've got something for hot chocolate anyway. All right. So I hope you'll forgive me for that. Okay. Now, I will organize a raid of some sort. Let's go have a look. See who's streaming right now. What do we have? Ooh, Library of Ruiners with Commissar Bear. Let's go head over there. Let's go head over there because he's actually managed to finish the game, which is pretty awesome. So let's go say hello to Commissar Bear, and I wonder how long it's going to take him to get ahead of me because he's been streaming those games like a madman the past past couple of weeks now, really. Alright, thank you very much, and I hope you have a good night, okay? I'll see how I feel in the morning. Hopefully I'll be able to do my stream. If I'm not feeling well, I'll put a stop to it. But I do feel like this is just going to be a temporary sort of passing thing rather than something major. Okay, so thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Alright, see ya!